That's a good point. I mean, I really don't like Ana, but when somebody is making good points, credit where credit is due. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Here with my co-host Morty. Let's party. So we got a video here from Kyle Kulinski talking about the Young Turks. Now, I am not a fan of the Young Turks by any stretch of the imagination. I am a fan of Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk, Crystal Kyle and Friends. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what he says, but I do think that in terms of people on the left, he is somebody who is at least honest about what he thinks and presents things as he genuinely sees them. We see so much grifting on both sides that, number one, it is definitely important to, keep tabs on what your political opponents are thinking, but it is also important to listen to people who are giving you their honest opinion and not telling you what they think you want them to hear. So Ana and Cenk got into this big debate, and I am here for it. So let's dive in.
So Cenk and Ana of the Young Turks had a very heated debate the other day. The title here is Cenk and Ana Debate How to Talk to Right-Wingers. So look, I want to go through all 23 minutes of this, but we don't have the time and there's so many other stories to get to. So I picked like the juiciest part, and we're going to react to the juiciest part here. But I will tell you this. So the genesis of this debate was Cenk saying the line, Republicans love criminals. Now, it was in the context of talking about Trump and like how Trump's numbers have gone up since, it was announced that he's probably going to be indicted and arrested and prosecuted.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the witch hunt that now has been admitted. I think it was Politico that admitted that it was a witch hunt. But yeah, love criminals. That's honest journalism right there.
And so he uses that to then argue Republicans love criminals. And Ana took issue with that because from her perspective, she's saying, look, that's a gross generalization. It's hyperbolic on purpose. And what you're doing is going after rank and file Republican voters whose minds can be changed, and you're just alienating them and pushing them further away from the left when you make arguments like that.
Fair enough. I mean, as far as he's presenting it, I'm on Ana's side, so let's see the goods.
And her point was, hey, man, go after Republican elites like the politicians and, try to be more constructive when criticizing the actual voters, the base. Okay, so that's the...
I think that applies to both sides, or just in general, whenever you're criticizing somebody, instead of painting with a broad brush and demonizing other people, attack ideas, not people.
The background story. Now that had happened on a previous show, and then they decided, let's do another segment where we sort of debate this topic on the next show. And so that's where we are here. We're about 13 minutes and 30 seconds into the debate, and we'll watch the rest and react to it.
So please definitely go check out Kyle's full breakdown. And if you really care, the full debate from TYT, we're not going to be going through all of it, just the highlights here. Again, thank you, Kyle Kulinski.
Democratic establishment in San Francisco endorsing this guy. One could argue, right? I would say it's inaccurate. One could argue the left loves crime, but the left doesn't love crime.
No, but
I mean, if either side of the aisle is going to be accused of liking crime or liking criminals, it absolutely would be the left. It would absolutely be the party that is, allowing shoplifting to go run amok. It is the party that is allowing so many crimes to be allowed to not have any kind of bond, and people committing crimes multiple times in a day. So I'm not saying that Democrats love criminals. That would be ridiculous. But I'm saying if we were to say which party likes criminals more, it's certainly not the Republicans. And I'm not even a Republican.
All right. So just to brush you up on the point she's making here. She's saying, hey, Cenk, that generalization you made about Republican voters, you can make the same generalization about Democratic voters, because here's some DA who was dismissive of the fact that some local reporter was robbed and was very smug about it. And Ana's like, so if we want to generalize about Democrats now, Democratic voters, you can say the left loves crime. Is that fair? So that's the point she's making.
That is a mischaracterization.
But those leftists there, I think, are extreme. And yeah, they think crime is not that big a deal. They say it all the time.
Exactly.
Of course not, but that's my point.
So look, all I'm asking for is specificity, right? And
I hate that word. I hate the word specificity. Why can't you say specification? I don't get it. Sorry, little aside.
Also asking for, just stay away from hyperbole and needlessly making blanket statements about whole swaths of the population.
No, but Anna, so
that's the problem I have.
We're not getting to the heart of the problem. So look, the Republicans, generally speaking, and not just generally speaking, I give you specific examples, are the aggressors, right? So we didn't just pass hundreds of laws against straight people in the country. They just passed hundreds of laws.
The politicians, and we should fight them, Cenk.
Do you think they're...
And I mean, let's not even get into the weeds on whether Cenk even has a point, because Anna's right there being fair.
Republican voters who are against those laws, be honest.
Cenk, I mean, what do they hear? Constant libs of TikTok, constant propaganda that's meant to scare them about the others. You know this.
I know, but Anna, so what do we do? Because
that's a good point too. That's a good point. I mean, I really don't like Anna, but when somebody is making good points, credit where credit is due. There is a lot of I don't know if you want to call it propaganda, because it's not propaganda. It's just what's happening. But she's absolutely right that libs of TikTok definitely has a huge influence on the way that people see the transgender community, specifically the activists, and the effect that it has on children. So to just keep it within the realm of their ideology, it makes sense that if they think that there's nothing wrong with transitioning children, that for people who would have a problem with that, if all they see is the worst of everything, and then they come see Cenk telling them that they love criminals, well, that's certainly not going to build any bridges.
We can't just go, okay, hey, you know what? Let's throw gay people.
That is not what I'm suggesting.
I know you're not suggesting this, so I'm asking, what do we do?
Okay, so do you think that you persuade them by saying, you guys are stupid, you guys love crime, you guys are hateful, ordinary people? Are you persuading them, or are you just releasing, the emotional frustration that I also feel myself?
No.
And again, I agree with her, and I feel the same way about the opposite side. You flip it around. I make a very deliberate point that when I'm talking about trans activists, that I'm not talking about all trans people, because there are so many more people who are trans who just want to live their lives than there are people who are pushing a trans ideology. And a lot of the times, the activists, the ones pushing this stuff, are not even trans themselves. And so it works both ways. What Anna is saying about to Cenk, about talking about conservatives, we also have to internalize that and not demonize everybody who has voted Democrat just because some of the extremists out there are very extreme.
This is super important, and this is a good question, and it has a very good answer. So we're in a political battlefield. We have to win on these elections so we can win on the bills, because they're winning the elections and winning the bills, and there's actually passing laws saying that gay people are so evil, we can't have innocent kids hear about their existence.
Okay, well, obviously we know that that is a bald-faced lie. But yes, the Parental Rights and Education Bill did pass because, yes, we do, as Americans, want to have control over our own families more than the government. How horrible.
Okay, so I cannot let that stand. So how do you...
I cannot let parents having rights stand. I cannot. We need to give it to the government.
You win by winning the middle, okay? So that's why sometimes when the left goes extreme, that doesn't help winning the middle. Okay, and you have to look at the polling to see what people actually want.
Wait, he's arguing against the left going crazy when he's the one saying that all Republicans love criminals?
What? They defunded the police. You poll it in African-American neighborhoods, and it polls terribly. Don't tell me that they want it when they don't want it. That's what you're talking about, Anna. That's the elite saying, oh, this is what the people want. It's not true. But when you're talking about winning the middle, you have to say, yeah, if you're on that side, it's not okay. It's not normal. It's not, hey, 50-50, should we hate the gays or should we not hate the gays?
So when you say that's not normal, what is that? And what is normal? Because certainly the policies that you're pushing in this, when it comes to sexuality and gender identity and all that stuff, normal is not the word that I would use. Acceptable? Sure. Depending on what we're talking about. But normal? Come on. Come on.
No, if you hate people for who they are,
which most of us do not,
you're a bit of a monster.
I agree, which is why I think Anna has a problem with what you're saying. Because we all agree with that statement. You're just applying it to everybody who doesn't think exactly like you do.
I know you got turned into a monster by right-wing media and propaganda and let's be honest, religion, etc. Okay, but people don't like honesty. So we're stuck. We're stuck.
I don't think that's...
How would you know? You've never said anything honest in your whole goddamn life.
In terms of the middle, no, I don't want you to think, as every stupid Democrat has done my entire life. It could be. Maybe you should hate black people and Latinos and immigrants and gays and all these people. I don't want to offend Republican voters. I don't want to offend them.
Yeah, because that's a tenet of the left, not offending people on the right, not speaking badly about anybody on the right.
What?
You are just talking out of your tuchus. You got caught by your own co-host spewing some BS. And now you're just getting indignant and just saying things.
Okay, so I gotta be a warrior for that. And Anna, you're a warrior for that. And you're an awesome warrior for that.
I know.
Are you though?
I direct my ire toward those in power, Cenk, because I believe, look, I mean, like, look at Florida as a perfect example. They elected Obama twice. Look at Florida now, right? Obviously, people can be persuaded, and you give up too easily, like you just do. We have policy ideas that are appealing across the aisle, period. But all of the focus by the mainstream Democratic Party is because they're paid by their donors and they don't actually want to push for the economic policies that would be popular. They dive into the culture wars too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this endless, like, you're bad, no, you're bad, you're a terrible person, you're a terrible person. I'm not saying you don't fight the right-wing power players, you absolutely do. But if we're to have anyone outside of our political group be receptive to the popular policy ideas that we have, we can't persuade them by immediately attacking them and writing them off as all bad people. You guys.
Facts. And there is so much policy-wise, just behavior-wise, just entire world perspective that Anna has that I disagree with and I think is unconscionable. But credit where credit is due, she is correct on this one point.
You guys are all bad people. You guys all love crime. You all love this. You all love that. Just doesn't make sense to me. And I disagree with your theory of change. The whole thing about winning over the middle, that is what elections have been about for decades. For decades.
No, but they have a false middle. Their middle is, bipartisan compromise that we should give billions more to corporations, and that's the middle of the country. That ain't the middle of the country.
No, it's not the middle of the country. So what are you talking about? Just talking out your ass again.
The middle of the country is an average guy, an average woman working their ass off, barely making it, etc. Right? So I address the actual middle as opposed to.
Do you though?
The Democratic Party. Look, here's my solution, and this is what I've.
Okay, now here's Cenk's solution to all Republicans loving criminals.
Been doing to the best of my ability, and often very wrongly, I'm sure, right? But I play both defense and offense. So if you're going to attack people, we're going to defend them. Period. Okay. At the same time, and this is what none of the rest of the Democratic Party do. Bernie does it a little bit. Justice Democrats do it a tiny bit, but tiny.
Yeah.
Okay, what you have to do is play offense on economic issues.
Yes.
Do you want higher wages or do you want the Republican plan of lower wages? Do you want healthcare or don't you want healthcare? For God's sake, this is the one thing Anna and I agree most on.
Those were questions. You said you had a solution. I don't understand how they have, I mean, how many, what does it say? 5 million subscribers? 5 million people think this is valuable information, that this is a valuable conversation. Now, okay, this one might have value ironically, but if you're watching this unironically, like, oh, this is a good debate. This, this is really coming out with some good points on either side. And then I don't know how you can ever come back from the brink. But I'm certainly not going to do what Cenk has just done and paint you with a broad brush of being a horrible person. That's not what I'm going to do. And there are certainly people on the right who would do that. But I would argue that there are way more people in the conservative space than the leftist space that are willing to reach out a hand and build that bridge. So, I mean, you guys can go check out the rest of the video and all that stuff. I just want to show that, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And the Young Turks are probably the worst, the absolute worst entity at all for media and news or anything like that. But Anna's right. And when she's right, I'm going to call it out. for her being right. So shout out to Anna, shout out to Kyle Kulinski, and thank you so much for partying with me, guys. Once again, I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of Common Sense. Check me out live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, guys, I am out of here. Peace.